The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand, at the forefront. Good morning. I am Attorney Karen Jimeno. Vice President Sara Duterte skipped the budget hearing of the OVP in Congress yesterday. Instead, she released the third part of her video interview, naming House Speaker Martin Romualdez and Ako Bicol Party List Representative Zaldy Co of manipulating the budget of the Office of the Vice President once it passed the Appropriations Committee. Congressman Zaldy Co issued statements accusing Vice President Sara of corruption and deception. Will Congress pull the trigger of impeaching the Vice President? We have with us this morning the representative of the 2nd District of Zamboanga City and House Majority Leader Jose Manuel Manix Dalipe. Good morning, Congressman Manix.
Yes, good morning, Attorney Karen. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for having me.
Kong Manix, let's start with the budget hearing. Did Congress anticipate that Vice President Sara will skip the budget hearing yesterday?
No, because she appeared during the first hearing of the Office of the Vice President, so everyone was expecting her to appear for the second time to answer questions, clarifications from House members belonging to the Committee on Appropriations.
Okay. Kong Manix, in the past hearings, Vice President Sara said that she was waiving her right to a question and answer and submitted her budget to the determination of Congress. Is this typical? And what happens now, especially since she skipped the budget hearing yesterday?
Yeah, every year, the House of Representatives undergo a process. And this is part of our constitutional mandate. So all agencies of government go to the House of Representatives and defend their proposed budget as submitted in the executive budget submitted by the President. So each agency, the head of the agency, goes to Congress to explain how they spent their funds previously in the past years, and of course, to defend what they're asking for the following year, which is, in this case, 2025 budget. So the House members, the Committee on Appropriation, the members of the Committee on Appropriation, they're just doing their job of scrutinizing the budget. In fact, if you will review the statement of the President, he is asking Congress to scrutinize his budget. And we are diligently doing our job as mandated in the Constitution of scrutinizing and coming up with the House General Appropriations Bill, which will eventually be presented by the Committee on Appropriations to us in the Committee on Rules and eventually to the members, to the entire membership of the House in plenary session. So for the first hearing, there were some members would want to clarify with regards to the operation of the Office of the Vice President, because he is asking for funds again before Congress for the fiscal year 2025. And the members of the Committee on Appropriation would want to be clarified on certain issues because there were already some information which was confirmed by the Commission on Audit yesterday in the committee hearing of the Committee on Appropriation that the Office of the Vice President was given a notice of disallowance by the Commission on Audit. So the members of the Committee on Appropriation have every right to ask and to be clarified what are these notice of disallowances issued by the Commission on Audit, considering that we will now be crafting the 2025 budget of the national government. So they would want to be clarified. And what are these notices of disallowances issued to the office of the Vice President? I think that is where the House members that's where they are coming from, Attorney Karen.
So Congressman Manix, what is then the next step of Congress? If Vice President Sara refuses to appear in Congress and there are clarifications that, as you said, are still pending, will there be other ways to get that information?
Obviously, of course. First, another agency of government which will shed light to this notice of disallowance is the Commission on Audit itself. This is the agency who issued such notice to the office of the Vice President. So it will be another option for members of the House of Representatives who want to be enlightened with regards to such notice. So the House is not just the House will have to eventually go directly and ask it from the Commission on Audit and be clarified to the query regarding the notice of disallowance. Because we do not want, I was talking to some members of the Committee on Appropriations, they do not want to be coming up with the committee report presented to plenary. When it reaches the plenary, members will again ask about those notice of disallowances issued by COA. They do not want to present the House General Appropriations Bill to plenary with questions are coming from the members who will have reservations on putting again those funds for next year. Sabi nga nila, bakit pa daw maglalagay tayo ng pondo, dinidisallow naman ng Commission on Audit. So, yun yung issue dyan.
Okay. And Congressman Manix, has it ever been done in the past where a head of a government agency waives their right to defend their budget and then submits the budget entirely for the discretion of Congress?
I cannot recall in the recent past, but usually a head of the agency or the head of a national government office would eagerly sponsor and defend his budget because he or she is the head of the agency is really should really lobby for it and justify to House members who have the right to question the proposed budget and happily and eagerly sponsor his or her budget of the agency which he represents. So in this case, it's quite saddening for some House members that the head of an agency or of an office is not ready or is not eager to answer queries from House members. So, in fact, the sponsor himself, Congressman Zia Adyong, the sponsor of the budget of the Office of the Vice President in plenary session, told us that he might have a hard time of sponsoring it because the questions of some House members with regards to this notice of disallowances were not yet clarified by the office in the Committee on Appropriation. But eventually, the Committee on Appropriation will have to come up with a recommendation. So we will wait. The members of the House will wait for the committee report of the Committee on Appropriation based on the series of budget hearings or budget briefings that were conducted in the past weeks.
Congressman Manix, there was a motion from Congressman Marcoleta to terminate the questions for the budget of the Office of the Vice President on the basis of a long-standing tradition of I think it's a courtesy that's given to the office of the Vice President and the office of the President. Is there really such a tradition?
Well, the tradition is on co-equal branch of government, and the tradition of extending courtesy just in case there are no more other questions, just to shorten the budget briefing. Let us be reminded this is a budget briefing of the Committee on Appropriation, wherein members of the committee would extend such courtesy for the head of agency or government of an co-equal branch. And in this case, it should, in my opinion, it is extended to the judiciary, to the Supreme Court, and to the executive branch of government, which is the office of the president. The office of the vice president is with the uh, but such courtesy is only in the committee hearings. Eventually, after the committee hearings of the Committee on Appropriation, no office, no agency is exempted from defending its budget in plenary. Well, I think there is a misconception yesterday made by some members. You know, an agency or a department is exempted from defending its proposed budget. Everyone should face the music and ask the questions, queries from House members, because eventually it will be the plenary who will decide on what budget we will transmit or what House General Appropriations Bill we will approve in the House of Representatives. So each and every member of the House of Representatives, each congressman has the right to scrutinize and ask any department, any agency about their proposed budget. So no one is exempted from scrutiny of the House members with regard to their proposed budget for the succeeding year.
Congressman Manix, with the budget hearing for the office of the President, this motion was also made, and it appeared to have been granted in a sense that there were no other questions that were allowed when the office of the President's budget was being heard. We had Congresswoman Franz Castro, who wanted to ask questions related to the confidential funds. Was this courtesy given in relation to the hearing of the budget for the office of the President?
The Committee on Appropriations extended courtesy to the co-equal branch. So what will happen now is, from the Committee on Appropriations, what the members of the Committee on Appropriations were relaying to Representative Franz Castro, all your queries, all your questions, the majority of the members of the, or any query or any question with regards to the proposed budget of the Office of the President, the majority of the members presentation. So all other questions with regards to the proposed budget of the Office of the President will now be welcomed in the plenary sponsorship and debate. So that is what the message of the committee is with regards to the Office of the President. So we'll just bring the other questions being presented by the other members of the Committee on Appropriation to plenary sponsorship and debate. So doon na lang nila di-discuss sa plenaryo. So just like in any committee in the House of Representatives, the members will have to decide, do they forward the debate to the plenary, or before forwarding it, they would want to ask questions first. So it is always the prerogative of the members of the committee. In this case, it is the prerogative of the members of the Committee on Appropriation whether to extend courtesy, forward it, bring the debates to the plenary, or if they still have questions, then discuss it during the budget briefing before the Committee on Appropriations will come up with their report.
Okay. Congressman Manix, considering that the budget would still be facing scrutiny at plenary, what is the logic of having this courtesy being granted to certain branches of government, like you said, executive and the office of the president?
Because of time. Sometimes, because some members feel that they need more time on other departments and agencies for discussion. So, a particular committee, in this case, Committee on Appropriation, would decide that let's extend this courtesy to a particular department or agency because we want to give more time during the budget briefing of the Committee on Appropriation on other agencies which they have a lot of questions. So, not to waste any more time because they are already contented with the questions or the answers presented by the department. So they're ready to make a recommendation on the proposed budget of a particular department. So, in short, they're ready to present to plenary and have it sponsored and move the discussion to plenary. But in certain cases, the committee on the members of the Committee on Appropriation are in doubt on what recommendation they will present to plenary. That is why they would want to be clarified first before they make a committee report of the Committee on Appropriations. What will they forward? What recommendations will they make to plenary? And in this case, the office of the Vice President, and it appeared, had a lot of notice of disallowances. So how will they defend or sponsor it in plenary? So I think that is the reason why they would want to be clarified first before making a recommendation. They might be making a recommendation of, you know, increasing or lowering the budget, which they are not comfortable in making such recommendation because their questions were not answered by the head of the agency or their questions were not clarified by the department or of the national agency concerned. So it will boil down to the decision of the members of the committee.
Okay. A third-part interview of Vice President Sara was released wherein she mentioned House Speaker Martin Romualdez and Congressman Zaldy Co as being responsible for manipulating the budget of the Office of the Vice President once it passed the Committee on Appropriations. Is there any truth to this statement?
I don't know. No two persons can manipulate that because in each and every step of the budgeting process, you have lots of House members involved. The Committee on Appropriations has members. The plenary, the debate in the plenary is composed of a lot of members. Even after the plenary, even in the BICAM, where in the Senate and the House of Representatives meet, it is not being decided by two people. So there is no truth to the allegations made by the Vice President that only two people will draft or think of how much to give to a particular agency, in this case, Office of the Vice President. Definitely, a collective decision will be made not by only two people in the House of Representatives. It will involve the entire chamber. The entire chamber of the House of Representatives will ultimately decide on how much we in the House of Representatives will propose for the budget of the Office of the Vice President for the fiscal year 2025. So it's not true, only two people will decide on that.
And some supporters of Vice President Sara also mention Congressman Zaldy Co as owning SunWest Corporation, which is a contractor for government projects. Are you aware if this is accurate?
I'm not privy to those details. I cannot answer it. Maybe I'll do some research on that yet.
Are people in Congress allowed to have any interest in being contractors or having construction companies that undertake government projects?
Well, just like in any other issue, usually House members divest of their ownership for particular business interest. That's my understanding. I'm on my third term, and I would usually hear a new member, of having such action taken because you cannot be of in conflict of interest with particular your business and your work. So usually, members of Congress divest their ownership of for a particular company.
Have you been able to speak with Speaker House Martin Romualdez regarding the accusations of Vice President Sara, considering you're also the House Majority Leader?
Well, I was with him yesterday, and I think he did not mention anything about the accusation of the vice president. Maybe it's not bothered by it. So there is no truth to it. So if a person is not bothered by such accusation because there is no truth to such accusation, so there's no reason to talk about those allegations, those accusations. So maybe just like any House member, like any congressman, who would usually brush it aside. No, wala lang. Bahala siya. Basta what we are focused on our job, and we have a job to accomplish in the next few weeks, and that is to pass the General Appropriations Bill, the House General Appropriations Bill, in the next few weeks, and subject it to plenary debates and sponsorship. And I think everyone in the House of Representatives is committed to finishing our constitutional mandate, to finishing our constitutional of scrutinizing the budget for 2025 and eventually pass it on third reading.
You released a statement yesterday saying that Vice President Sara is employing squid tactics. Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, because because of her statements that she uh, released accusing of two people of just manipulating the budget, when in fact we all members of the House of Representatives know that no two people can manipulate the budget, the proposed budget for 2025. It will involve a lot of people, a lot of House members. In fact, the Committee on Appropriations alone, it is one committee with a lot of membership, followed by the plenary, which the entire membership of the House will participate. So instead of coming up with with answers that the House members need to come up with the committee report with regards to the proposed budget of the Office of the Vice President for 2025, she's trying to hurl accusations, come up with insinuations, instead of answering directly the queries of the members of the Committee on Appropriation with regards to the notice of disallowances issued by the Commission on Audit. So that's why I arrived at a conclusion that it is just merely squid tactics employed on the part of the Vice President.
Congressman Manix, you were also in Congress last year before the unit team broke up. Based on your observations, did Vice President Sara face the same level of scrutiny when she was still an ally of the administration, when she was appearing for budget hearings?
Well, during the first year of the administration, I think there were no questions with regards to the office of the Vice President. In fact, I can recall I was present in the meeting. We moved for its speedy approval because there were no questions. there were no issues presented back then. If there were any issue raised by members, of course, we will not block it. We will allow the committee to decide to take its course on what they would want to do within the committee hearing. Would they want to continue questioning would they want to be continue questioning so that they will be clarified on what proposal they would present to plenary with regards to a budget of a particular office. And back then, I can recall nobody was questioning the budget of the office of the vice president, because back then there was no notice of disallowance issued by co. So it's just but normal by House members to say, let's bring this discussion to plenary instead of discussing it in the committee level. Let's bring it to plenary. If there are any other questions, then we'll discuss it in plenary session, and the committee is ready to make a recommendation to plenary.
Okay. And Congressman Manix, we had Congresswoman Franz Castro here before at the forefront, and she said that with respect to their party list, they are firm on their stand that they want the confidential funds to be abolished, not just for the office of the vice president, but for the office of the president and other offices. Would the office of the president also be questioned on the confidential funds once they go to plenary?
Yes, nobody. I will not prevent anybody from questioning anything with regards to the proposed 2025 budget. I want also, me as a House member, I'm a congressman from Mindanao. I want to be clarified on all issues that will be presented to us. So, if there is any proposal coming from the minority, then they can present it. But ultimately, the entire membership will have to hear each and every side of each and every side on a particular issue. Members, those who would want to retain specific budgets, those House members who are objecting and would want changes in a particular appropriation proposal can do so. But definitely, just like in any democracy, we will have different opinions. So we have to decide which decision we will recommend. And as always, we divide the House, and it will be the majority of the members whose opinion will prevail. So it will be. But I would like to make it clear that as House Majority Leader, I would encourage. I would not prevent the minority from raising issues. I want to hear, because there might be some points that the minority would be able to enlighten also the majority on on issues with regards to the proposed budget in 2025. So we will listen to them.
Congressman Manix, based on the trend of, for example, the vice president not appearing in the budget hearings, even in plenary, what's the worst thing that could happen? Is it possible for an office to get zero budget?
Well, nothing is impossible, but not zero. Usually, I think in the past, there was a 1 peso budget, not zero. So it depends on the recommendation of the Committee on Appropriation, because they will have to defend it. They have to defend their committee report in plenary session. They will forward it to me in the Committee on Rules. So as long as they know how to defend the recommendation, it's up to them, because they know the plenary will be there ready to question their proposal. So it depends on the Committee on Appropriation what recommendation they will present to plenary. So if they want a 1 peso budget, they have to defend why they gave a particular office a 1 peso budget. If they would want to retain it, they will have to defend it in plenary. So the burden is now with the Committee on Appropriations to defend their proposal before plenary. And in plenary, as I told you, I will not prevent the minority from raising issues or questions with regards to a particular budget proposal of an agency in government. So they have to defend it there. It's the right of the House of Representatives, members of the House of Representatives, to scrutinize the budget. That's our constitutional duty. So, obligasyon. It is an obligation of each and every House member to do his or her work as a member of the House of Representatives, the, the institution mandated in the Constitution to first scrutinize the budget.
Okay. And is there really any talks of impeachment against Vice President Sara?
Impeachment?
Yes.
I don't know. Is there any ground already in impeaching her? Unless, Attorney Karen, you might have any information that you can relate to me. Right now, I don't have any idea yet. So, with regard to impeachment, are there grounds already in impeaching the Vice President? Unless you will not be able to explain the issues raised by the Commission on Audit. There might be grounds, but right now, we'll wait for those things. Right now, I am not yet privy to other information which can lead to a ground of impeachment. But definitely, serious issues have been raised already with regards to the notice of disallowances issued by COA. So, if the Vice President will not be able to justify, then she might be held liable with regards to the notice of disallowance issued by COA.
Okay. And lastly, Congressman Manix, do you think there's any possibility of Congress and Vice President Sara Duterte mending this relationship?
Yes, problem. The House of Representatives. We have a very friendly leadership. In fact, that is the instruction of the House Speaker. The instruction of House Speaker is to be able for the House of Representatives to be able to help each and every department or agency of government, fulfill its goal and mission as asked from them by the administration of President Bongbong Marcos Jr. So the instruction of the Speaker is we have to help each and every agency, we have to help each and every department of the national government in accomplishing its mission in making the administration of President Bongbong Marcos Jr. a successful one. So we are one in supporting the administration of President Bongbong Marcos. So no problem. If there is a need for the House members to be with the office of the Vice President, we will be able to clarify things. If she will be able to explain to us, the House members, I think there's no problem. We have a very friendly speaker. If you look, hindi pala away si Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Thank you so much, House Majority Leader Jose Manix Dalipe, for joining us today.
Thank you, Attorney Karen. Thank you for having me. Good day.
Vice President Sara and the House Majority have officially parted ways following the controversial hearing of the Appropriations Committee on the OVP budget for 2025. A word war has already erupted between the two sides. It appears that the Vice President is now openly daring Congress to impeach her. Whether the House leadership takes on the challenge of the Vice President or not remains to be seen. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for meaningful conversations that would help you form an objective personal opinion. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.